Hi, this is Haley, and this is Extension in the Kitchen. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm excited to share some very timely recipes. We are coming up on the holidays and I'm so excited about some holiday recipes. But I wanted to show you today how to make them a little bit differently by using an Instapot. So there's different brands of Instapots out there. And the first thing you want to make sure you do before using your Instapot is read your manufacturer's instructions so that you are fully aware of how to use your particular brand. They all work a little bit differently, but in general, it's kind of like a fancy pressure cooker. And so they do tend to make things a little bit easier as far as time goes. And so this might be a good option for you this holiday if you are making some sides for your family, or if you have a small group of people you're making things for. And just FYI, we have a couple of workshops coming up that are focused on making holiday-inspired recipes around or with Instapots. So if you're interested in signing up for that class, make sure to reach out to me here at the Cooperative Extension Office. I would love for you to join us. It's all virtual, okay? So we're gonna get started. I do have 2 Instapots here today just to make this easy to demonstrate for you guys, but you can definitely make these at home with just one. Today we are gonna make a Instapot mashed sweet potato. And we're gonna show you guys how to make this maybe just a little bit healthier today. And same with our second recipe is going to be an Instapot green bean casserole. And these are 2 of my favorite sides to have around the holidays. Green bean casserole, anything with sweet potatoes, it just makes me think about Thanksgiving, right? So I'm very excited to give this a try. All right, so come over here with me. We're gonna start with our mashed sweet potatoes, and I'm just gonna tell you what we have here. So we have about 3 pounds of sweet potatoes, and they've already been peeled up. We also have a 1/2 cup, and today I'm using a low-fat milk. Now, a lot of times we use the full-fat dairy products, especially around the holidays. It's that feel-good food, but I'm here to show you how to cut out some of that saturated fat to help us to live healthier lifestyles while still enjoying a special treat, right? So we've got a 1/2 cup of our low-fat milk, also a 1/2 cup of vegetable broth, 4 cloves of garlic, and this has already been diced. And then we've got 2 tablespoons of salted butter and some salt and pepper, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is combine our sweet potatoes. So I'm gonna just put our sweet potatoes into our Instapot. And I'll tell you what, the hardest part is getting these things peeled. A way that I do it really easy is I put them in the microwave until they're softened just enough to where that peel will come right off, okay? So if you've never tried it, definitely give it a try. I have been very fortunate, knock on wood, to not cut myself a bunch in the kitchen. But the one time that I cut myself was when I was cutting a sweet potato. They are so hard. And so definitely be careful. Make sure you are using sharp knives when you're cutting things, because that's going to actually prevent injury more so than using a dull knife. So just some tips there while you're cutting in the kitchen, okay? All right, so we've got our sweet potatoes in. We're also going to add in our milk. Our broth. The garlic. Make sure I get as much of that in there as possible. We've got our salt and pepper. All right, so that's all we're putting for now. We're gonna leave the butter out, and now we're gonna close and lock our lid, okay? So the tricky part is finding where it'll go on. And make sure it's nice and locked on, okay? So for this particular Instapot, there is an option at the top where you can either seal or you can vent, okay? Now remember, we are going to put this on high pressure. So we wanna make sure our Instapot is sealed. We don't wanna vent because that's gonna allow the pressure to be released, okay? So now we're gonna come up here and look at our options. So we've got soup broth, meat, stew, cake, egg, lots of options. So once we have all our ingredients in here, we are going to, for this recipe, we're gonna pressure it for 8 minutes. So I'm gonna hit manual and we're gonna go down to 8 minutes. All right, and that's all for that first recipe for now. All right, so the pressure is gonna build, and once it builds, it will start counting down, okay? So we're gonna go over to our second recipe, which again is our green bean casserole. So for our green bean casserole, you might use half and half if you're wanting that full fat, but again, we're cutting back on the fat, so we do have a low fat, 1 cup of low fat milk. We have 3/4 a cup of chicken broth, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. We've got salt and pepper, a tablespoon of olive oil, a tablespoon of unsalted butter, half a cup of chopped onions, mushrooms, 1 8-ounce pack of mushrooms, a pound of green beans, and these are fresh green beans, and we trimmed the ends off and cut them into bite-sized pieces. And lastly, we've got a 6-ounce package of fried onions as well, okay? So let's get started with this recipe. First thing we're gonna do is we are going to make our soup mixture. So I'm gonna grab a bowl. Let's grab this one. And we're also going to need a whisk. And we're going to mix together our milk, our broth, our cornstarch, let's see, Worcestershire sauce, and salt and pepper. All right, so we're just gonna whisk that right together. Okay. Step 2, we're going to turn on our Instapot and we're going to select the saute function. So again, the great part about this is you can do it all in one pot and you have a lot of different options to cook it in a variety of ways. So I'm just going to hit that saute and it's going to start to heat up, guys, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add in the oil as it starts to heat. We're going to add the butter and the onions and we're going to cook those for about 2 minutes so that our onions get cooked down and it gets nice and translucent. So let's make sure, double check and make sure it's on. It is. And while that's heating up, I'm just going to move some of my stuff out of the way, clean up as you go. All right. We're moving right along. Holiday cooking does not have to take all day, right? And that is what we're setting out to do today. Make sure that cornstarch gets nice and mixed into our little soup mixture. All right, guys, so again, we're adding in those onions so that they can get cooked and translucent. We're gonna allow them to saute for about 2 minutes. Let's see. And our next step, we're gonna add in, let's see, we're gonna add our mushrooms. Oh yeah. And then we'll add in the rest of our ingredients as well. And I can hear that our sweet potatoes are starting to pressure over here. You can see the pressure starting to build on that Instapot over there. So that high pressure is going to allow for that recipe to cook a lot more quickly than if you were just doing it in a regular pot. So it just reached pressure. Cool. All right, our onions are looking translucent, so I'm going to go ahead and add in my mushrooms. I'm going to add in the green beans. Add in our soup mixture. And we're going to stir this up to combine it a little bit better. All right. Next, we're going to close and lock the lid, and then we're going to pressure this recipe for about 10 minutes. Actually, we're going to go ahead and add some of these crispy onions in too. Just a half a cup of these. Let me grab our measuring cup. add some of the French onions. We're going to add some at the end too. Here we go. Mix that up again. And again, we are going to change up from the saute to this one has the pressure cook option. And then we can change our time right here. And it was 10 minutes. All right. We have to have our lid on. Again, we have it on the sealed option. And it's ready to go. All right, so now we just wait while these continue. We've got about 6 minutes left on our first recipe. Before we go in, we'll mash that up, add the butter, and we'll be waiting on our second recipe. So just a few minutes and we'll finish this right up. Okay guys, so our sweet potatoes have finished pressuring. And so what we're gonna want to do before we take the lid off is release that pressure that has built up inside. So I'm actually going to grab, a mitt to kind of just protect myself. And then I'm gonna vent all that steam from our pressure, from our Instapot. You can smell all the good smells from those sweet potatoes being released. And so for our last step, while that lets all that pressure out, we're gonna mash up our sweet potatoes with the butter, and then we're just gonna add it to a dish so that we can serve it for Thanksgiving, right? Or, you know, you don't have to make this for Thanksgiving. You might just do it because you like sweet potatoes. All right, so very carefully, you wanna open that away from you for safety reasons. That steam is super hot. I'll add in my butter. And we can come in here. I'm gonna move it a little closer to me so I can reach it, guys. And our sweet potatoes are nice and soft, and we're just mixing all those ingredients together. It smells good. Now notice this is a more savory sweet potato recipe. If you wanted to make it more of a sweet with the cinnamon and that kind of thing, you definitely could. But this is just showing you an easy, one pot, quick way to make your sweet potatoes. So mix it up really good. I want it to be nice and smooth. And then we can add it to a bowl for easy serving. Perfect. This makes everything super easy to do all in one pot. And also the good thing about an Instapot, while, you know, I have a small house, so I don't have a whole lot of space for extra gadgets, but also when you have a small house and you use your oven or your stovetop, it heats up the whole house. So this is a good way to kind of prevent that from happening, especially during like the summer months. Right now it's not as terrible of a thing to heat up the house. It's starting to cool down a little bit. All right, so there is our mashed sweet potatoes. I'm excited to try those out. And we still have 9 minutes left on our other recipe. So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna get the other Instapot cleaned up and we'll be back in a few minutes. So just like our sweet potato recipe, we are going to vent this recipe as well, safely, very safely. So it's sealed. We're gonna put it on the vent. You want all of the steam to release before you attempt to open it, because again, a lot of pressure has built up within our Instapot, and we want that to safely vent out before we remove the lid. All right, so our valve has dropped down, which means we have released all the pressure. All right, and so I'm going to add this mixture into a separate dish. Smells really good. Green beans are nice and cooked down. Now, you could definitely use a frozen or canned green bean, but it's probably not going to need to be pressured for as long. And it's just not going to be as fresh. I feel like, you know, if you can use a fresh green bean, it's definitely going to be best. Trying to get as much of this out of here as I can. All right. That's about all of it. And then we top it with the remaining onions. There we go. Perfect. All right. All right, I'm just gonna move this out of the way for right now. and show you guys what we're working with. All right, guys, so now we have 2 quick, simple, easy cleanup options for the holiday, or you know what, if you just want some holiday inspired recipes any time of the year, this is a great way to utilize your Instapot and make some delicious sides, okay? So I'm going to dig in and plate these for you guys. So we've got our yummy mashed sweet potatoes. And some delicious green bean casserole, all from an Instapot. All right, so I'm gonna go eat this, but if you have any questions on how to use the Instapot or make some healthier side options for this coming holiday season, please reach out to me. It's Haley Cowell at the Cooperative Extension Office, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much.